Well, hello there, everyone, if you can hear me. If anyone's watching this tonight, then feel free to comment in the chat. I'll try and ask answer any questions that you may have. So let's get started. Right. Tonight I'll be using 1.5mm card as the basis. What I'm doing is we're starting on the running board, which has a width of 60mm and a length of 138. But I've taken 3mm off the 138 because when it comes to putting the buffer beams on, they're going to be butted up against the edge. Just going to mark a center line. If there is anybody watching, let me know what the audio's like, if you can hear me. Just marking out where it's going to be for the motor. Nice brand new blade, new cutter. over there for now. Let's cut out the motor hole. What I love about this 1.5mm card is it acts so much like plastic card, to me at least. But at least 5 times cheaper. Last time I bought plastic card, it was marked at £2.50 a sheet of A4 size. This, through well-known online stores, cost me $3.99 for a pack of 10. And £1 or so less for a pack of 5. I think you all know the rainforest I mean. I won't be motorizing this in this stream because I'm still waiting for the motor to arrive from wherever it's getting sent. That was the one thing I couldn't find decent enough for a good enough price, so I've had to go to the website for that. But I do have some wheels, and I may get a chance to put the wheels on it tonight, and maybe even some buffers. Now, in the spirit of not wasting much, let's take the motor cut out and start making the buffers, or the buffer beam. Which is 12mm deep. Then put some center lines in. I was talking the other day with someone about scratch building engines. I have done that in the past, and if I had any to show, I'll have a look for one in a minute. They asked me how I do it. And those of you that have seen me in other streams before know that I prefer working in cardboard. So as I'm sure you're all aware, this is Dolgok, or Rheneas from the TV series, designed to fit on a Hornby 040 chassis, the one from Smokey Joe. If you want me to make a video on this or any of the narrow gauge engines in the future, put a message in the comments below. I'll read all the comments, and it'll be either a future live stream or a future how-to video. In a little while, I'll go get another cardboard engine and piece of rolling stock that I've built that fits on the same chassis. But that will have to be a surprise. But no, when I got talking with this person the other day, he was asking, how do you know your measurements? How do you know your heights? How do you know that that distance is from that distance there? Well, I've got a small stockpile of engineering type drawings of locomotives from British Rail, and each one, I always look for a point of reference of how high or how apart a certain point is. The easiest measurement to know and remember is that from the top of the rail, here to the buffers, which would be about here on the wagon where the pen is, or a locomotive, is a standard height of 3.5 feet, or 3 foot 6.25 inches. But for the easiness for this working in this scale, you round to the nearest. That then also gives you, for this particular engine, where the wheels and the center of the wheels should be for the chassis to motorize. So that should be a bit easier for you. I'm going to be revealing now that this is going to be a future Thomasy project. Got this as a bargain, £5 for a Lima Great Western Toad. Not strictly accurate for Toad from the TV series or from the books, but will represent him well. I'll show you what I'm going to use him for in a minute. Right. If you happen to have something of the scale you're working in with you, find the center point On this, there's a nice little plastic moulding joint right there. And then get the center. That's why this one's wonky, it's missing a buffer. Get the center of the two buffers. Move that to one side. Check that measurement, 10 mil. Check that measurement, 7 mil, slightly off. Up until an accident that we had with my son and a can of pop, I had every single measurement written down in 4 mil, 7 mil, 2 mil, 10 mil scale. So basically form a list of 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 5 foot, 6, on one side, and 6 inch, 1 inch. Then the next column would be N gauge, double O, then O, then gauge 1, and it would have the measurement in that particular scale for that particular measurement. When you get to some of the smaller stuff, you just go around to the nearest fuller figure, or what appears to look good, to make it easier. And there we have 2 buffer beams, running plate, and you'll notice on the buffer beams there's 3 marks. The center mark are for the coupling hooks, the outer marks are for the buffers. Now the question of what to stick them with. I'm going to stick with my old favorite, cheap as chips, super glue. You can get these in 3-gram tubes. I get these from a well-known pound store for the UK. You get 6 in a blister pack for £1. That sort of cost, I'm not bothered if I only use it a couple of times and then it goes dry on me. But I always have to hand some a cotton ball. Yes, it looks like my fingers start smoking after a while. But that's just mainly to catch the excess residue later on, or to rub it off. But I'm not going to glue this just yet. As I'm going to just take a quick peek in my O-gauge box. Those are for another engine. These are all parts that I have bought from various places, including white metal casting handrails, Don't know how well that's going to focus. Not being sponsored by any of these, but some of these were chance finds on that well-known auction site that I just happened to find, click, buy. Strictly speaking, free link couplings do not go on engines. Not of this sort of caliber. I know that there were free link couplings set on some industrial engines because they weren't on the main line as often as what others are, on what this particular engine Percy would be. I've been trying not to say his name in case I get copyright infringement, but there you go. So what are we going to do? Just realised I'm missing a part. Might be able to work it with that. That's good. So as you can see, we've got the wheels. They were a happy find. Only a couple of quid on the eBay. Now, which buffers do I go for? Right, I'm going to go for the brass ones. Which would be more fitting for Percy. The size of the head on the buffer is quite adequate to be Percy. It's who I bought them for anyway. These ones here are white metal castings, little brass thread and nut on the back, but they've got a flat plate. It's usually where, when you're climbing on either the wagons or the engine, that's where they would put their feet to help get around. So if you want any of these bits and pieces that I have got, look for JPL models on eBay. And I'm sure he may have these little oddities that you like, and they're reasonably priced. I'll put a link in the description after this stream so people can go and check him out and have a look. Right. So that's the free link coupling. Right, yep, there you will be. I got these buffers from old wagon kit. And as you can tell whose buffers they are, that gives you a clue as to a future video that I'll be doing. I'll be trying to do all these models in O gauge, just purely because I don't like the readily available O gauge models for this particular franchise. So what I'm going to do is just use these buffers because they've got a screw just to give me the center marks and screw through the cardboard. because I can't for the life of me find my mini drill. Well, that went through well. But this is always the scary bit for me. Getting it lined up perfectly the same. But that's the beauty of cardboard. You balls it up, you've got plenty more to cut. Let's see what this looks like. Bit tight, but that's okay. I'm not going to be tightening these up because I still want to be able to get them off. There's two. I want to be able to take these off for painting later on. So that's why they only be finger tight tonight. There we have a halfway complete buffer beam. Repeat. You may notice I don't do things the same way twice, or at least some of the time. So did you all like the last stream that I did 2 weeks ago? mascot dance. Have you all watched his documentary? Well worth a watch. Big thank you to Henry's Buffers. Oops, did I just give a clue? See you next time. Next two buffers on. Whenever you were in school, they always said, maths is important. You'll always use these particular skills when you're older. Welcome back, Protractor. Welcome back. Come on. Get in bloody hole. There we have the second one. So the free link couplings. First of all, a slightly thinner piece of card. Oh, love it. The girlfriend sneaks in the room trying to be quiet. Right. The reason for this really thin piece of card is that if you've noticed on the TV series or any other series, in the middle, where you have the coupling hook, there's that square bracing. So we need to create a brace, so to speak. Now we know the given dimension for the buffer beam. Now we need to make this perfectly square. So for me, what I do is mark out on here. I'll do it. Formula that. Formula that. And 4 mil either side. So we create a square on the buffer beam, and now we know how much that is going to be. It doesn't have to be exact because it's all going to be painted over, but the next bit has to be exact. So this edge here on this is the rough edge that I just quickly cut out. So now I need to do an 8 mil by 8 mil square times 2. One for the front, one for the back. Then carefully cut it out. I'm going to have to get a new mat soon because this one has started to bubble up in the middle. The joys of letting the girlfriend sit at your desk with a hot cup of coffee. Again, didn't mark that one. Right, time to get these stuck on. Use the super glue. Smallest possible ball. And using over the tip of the protractor, compass, whatever you want to call it. Or what I prefer, is a sewing pin. Line up, square up, and push down. Any glue that does come out the sides, you get your cotton wool. Yes, it may stick. Just pull it away. And there you have the buffer beam coupling rod backing support plate. With it being super glue, it dries real quick. With this particular glue, you don't need any catalyst. But I also found with the cheap and cheerful stuff, it lasts a bit longer. And sometimes does a better job than the branded makes. Next, let's do the free-link couplings. All the purists out there now going, you can't use them, they're not the right ones. I already know they're not the right ones. But what I do is I have little trays. It cost me £5 each from a local craft shop, designed for business cards. Don't think they got much business, so they became these crafting trays. So any small parts like this where you feel you may or may not know what's going to happen, any little tray like this is good. Now I know cardboard isn't the strongest of materials to work with, but I know modelers out there that have built complete engines from serial packet card. think, trying to think of the name of, he's on YouTube as well. Flying TARDIS or something like that. He goes to a model railway club where he knows the guy who wrote an article in a magazine. And apart from wheels, motor, and the electrical wires, the engines are all cardboard, apart from where obviously they need strengthening to put couplings and so on and so forth. So make of it what you will, the medium cardboard, but if you don't want to go through the expense of losing £4, as in money pound, of plasticard because you messed up a cut, cardboard is a way to go, especially if you're new to the hobby. Cardboard has practically been there since the birth of model railway hobby. Now then, let's take these buffers off for a minute so that we can put the coupling hooks in. The best thing about these business card trays is it's top and bottom. You've got 2 trays for the price of 1. Looks like I'm not going to be able to finish painting before 10 o'clock. I'll try and speed this up a little bit. It does look like a little bit skewy. That's fine. Right. How to do. That ain't gonna work. Gosh, it's a bit tight. There you go. Stick that in. Then the magical fiddly bit. Spring. Washer. And cotter pin. Now again, with the 3-link coupling, I'm not going to fix it into place tonight. I'll take it away, paint it up a little bit, and then put it back. And because I didn't trial it with cardboard before, it's a bit loose. The spring isn't as tight as what it should be. So in between this and the next video that I make for this engine, I'll probably have to thicken up the back a bit to give it the spring it needs in its step. But there we have a buffer beam. Now that we know it fits and it works out, take the buffers off. Cotter pin out. Washer off. Spring off. Hook out. That's a bit of a buggy. So now I'll leave the hook on because it's got a bit of a bear on the shaft that is preventing it being pulled back out. So we'll just have to be careful on the next steps. There's 2 buffer beams. Let's give that a try again, just in case. Where did the files go? Don't know where my files are at the minute. Anyway, remember at the beginning we accounted for the thickness of the card for the buffer beams. Simple case for when it comes to assembly, just glue along the one edge. It might soak in just a little bit. Get this, line up, firmly hold together. If you think it's not going to stick and hold, go along the back, run a bead along the back. Simple as anything. Just remember with these cheap tubes not to squeeze too much, otherwise you'll have a lava flow of super glue and everything sticking to everything. what I'll do is I'll cut some smaller bits off and use that as bracing behind. Just little squares that boom in, but also the chassis, when that gets made, that will give it additional support in the middle. And we've got the valances along each edge to glue on, which will take out the curve of any warping and support on the edges. Of course, once all the glue has dried thoroughly and properly, if it looks a bit rough or a bit holy, get some milliput or other model filler putty, rub it in, sand it down. Time for a trial fit with the die-cast body. And that fits surprisingly well. No warpage from the weight of the... It's almost like it was planned. Psych. Oh. Right. While you do your bits and pieces for the chassis, for the running plate, you'd be needing a chassis. All a chassis is for this is like a ladder construction, 2 lengths, 2 spacers. And you see it drawn out on a piece of paper. There's your 2 lengths. That's where the chassis will be going. That's the thickness of whatever material it is you're using. Could be steel, could be brass, could be cardboard. Obviously, wheel holes would be relevant to where they need to be for the engine that you're working on, but I usually put a spacer there. Let's be like that, wouldn't it? And a spacer there, because these ends here will be up against the buffer beams. I hope you can see that. And where I get ladder from, so if you cut, look at the top view, looks like that. So for a chassis, what you've got to remember is this. That dimension there inside is going to be the same as the dimension from the piece that you cut. Now what I do is I take a measurement off the wheels that I'm using. I don't know what brand these are from, they just came from eBay. Take a measurement from the center to the outer rim on the profile. So I take from the center to this rim here. See it? There. And on this wheel set, it's 16 mil. So I'll probably take the chassis, knowing that some of it may have to go into the engine's body. I'd make the chassis 25 mil, which on this particular wheel is from where the crank pin goes in to the rim. So 2 of those is 50. There's 25. What I also do when I'm doing the chassis part is do that measurement, which in this case is a 135 millimeter. Share that by 2, which is 6.5. $67.5 mil. Knowing that 3.5 foot is the measurement that we need to work from, in 7 mil, 3.5 foot is 14, 21, 24.5. Yes, 24.5 mil. That's useful for knowing at a later date. But because we know we've got a reference point on here, and that is 10 mil from the edge of the there's the crank pin, there's the hole, there's the rim. So what I do is I'll take it 10 mil from the center to there is 10 mil. So that gives you where you need the center on your chassis. It will all make sense. Label them as bottom. So we know that the wheels are going to be somewhere on that line. One there, one there, one there, one there, somewhere. This is where the Smoky Joe or Percy would actually come in handy. Bear with me a second. There we are, using the Percy chassis from Hornby. Now we know over the cab there's a little bit more space looking at the chassis. So we label this end back, front, we know that from that end to there is 22 millimeters on the Hornby model. Now 22 shared by 4 times 7, 38.5. So that gives us the position of the first wheel, 38.5. How did I work that one out? Well, if you work in multiple scales like I am, an easy one to remember is if you want to upscale 4mm to 7mm, is this way. So say it's 40mm, 40 shared by 4, which is your 4mm, equals 10. We knew that. The answer should be 70. Times that by 7 is going to be 70. That's how you get it. It will work reducing down and will work going up. I've used it as a failsafe for years. So the front wheel set on this. 20. That was 19. That's 19. Shared by 4 equals that. Times 7 equals 33.25. We'll just stick with 33 to make it easier. Those points there are your center points for your wheel sets. Those are the chassis sides, done. To make the ladder depends on what wheels you're using. Quartering on these is automatic. on loosely. And then measure the inside to inside, which on this is 28.5 mil. We'll call it 28. Minus 3 millimeters for the thickness of the card, which is 1.5 on either side. And take away a further 8 millimeters. So that will give us a spacing of 18 millimeters. I think, hold on. 8. Right, for this though, what we'll do is we'll take 3 millimeters off either side. So it's 4.5 millimeters either side, which is 9 mil. 28 take away 9 is 17. We'll call it 18 just to be a bit more lenient and a bit tighter fitting. That's 18 mil. And then the thickness, which is 25 mil. The depth, 25 mil. Of the chassis sides. What you could always do is, if you're working in cardboard like I am, and it's the 1.5, if you're worried about strength and support, put another couple of supports in. It's as easy as that. I don't think I mentioned this earlier, like plaster for cutting. I know it's like plaster card. Don't go dig deep in one cut. Just a couple of cuts. That's all it will take to get through the card. Okay, 4. Now it's a case of where to position the spacers. Well, depending on which way you're going around, I'm opting for a radio control unit from just a simple little RC car that I wasn't able to get hold of in time for the stream. I'm still waiting for some parts to go on the wheels to make the connection. So what I'll do is I'll show you this as a very quick thing. What I do is get hole punch, pull through, clamp the two pieces together, and that way you get the hole exactly where you want it on going through both. Get a drill, that's the size of the shaft that you're using, put it in, build it. I'm going to be rebuilding this chassis away from off screen, but I'm going to be doing it exactly the same way as the methods that I've shown you. But then we'll see what the wheel will be like. That's the wheel in position. You can always trim it down a little bit, the chassis if need be. But where you can see the wheel overlap there, that's all you need to clear anything that's on the track. And then, so I'll be building that chassis again off camera. And the next time that you see it, it'll be Percy will be on his wheels, minus its motor, but he'll be there. You'll see him. Now, a note on painting. There are hundreds of paints out there. And I don't know about everyone else, but I can very rarely get the exact colour match that I want. Until I found Citadel paints, which just happened to give me the right shade of green that I'm happy with. And I'm finding a lot of other people are becoming happy with. And they come in these nice little pots. I got cheap paints from the pound shop. It's always good to just experiment. But Citadel Moot Green, to me, is the closest TV series and book colour green there is. The Moot Green that I use is a layer paint. Is it acrylic? Wild Red. I use the Wild Red. Yeah, Wild Rider Red for lining and the red parts. For a future project, I'm not going to give you a clue whose paint colour these two belong to. But you have seen one finished in another stream by White House Productions. And their blue seems to be a good blue. It's a darker blue, but to me it looks good. I'll show you. I use that blue on my N-gauge Gordon, just to try it out, just to mess around. Now, I personally like that colour. Gives it a realistic colour. But I didn't know until after I'd painted it that there was thinners for acrylic, or that I could have just added water. I've tried other paints in the past, but this green from this particular company, I had 12 of their pots of paint. I've used them once or twice, just touching up projects here and there. Gone to use them the other day, lost the whole jar. £6 down the drain. Citadel, I've not quite sealed the lid on this one properly, and it worked. Still works. Humbrolls, I think their quality has gone down. I've gone to use their paints recently, and it's one or two are all right. The rest, they just... But we'll see. We'll see which colours and paints we use throughout the series and on all the videos, and as and when they happen, we'll show you. Now, I haven't got an airbrush proper as yet. I've got one of those disposable cans and jobbies. So next time, I didn't get to do it on this one because I'm already 8 minutes over. But I'm making up for being late. Sorry about that. I'm going to show you how I brush paint. It gives that more realistic appearance for me. And it's always done good enough for what I want. You may have noticed from the thumbnail that Percy isn't looking the same as what he was in that. That's because, to try and save a little bit of time, I primered this using a cheap grey car primer from Poundland. And it worked. So obviously when it comes to it, main body is going to be green. There's going to be the blackened details, brass or copper. I might find some transfers. I think I've got some that would be suitable. But we'll have to see how it goes. I've got some in O gauge and 00, but we'll see how it goes. So if anyone's got any questions or suggestions that they'd like to make for future videos or for your future live streams, or if they want another question and answer session, let me know. Let me know in the comments. And yes, I've shaved since the last live stream. It was getting itchy and annoying me because the house has started to warm up. And yeah. However, but there you go. Things happen. Last week's stream I couldn't go ahead with because of family emergency, as I pointed out in a video. So we're sorry if you were waiting. But things are getting all right now. They're getting there slowly. But until the next time, I'd like you to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And join us next time on Workshop Wednesday.